Good morning, everyone. It is live trading workshop time. We have today, January the 30th, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And my name is Daniel, and I'm greeting you today once again from our beautiful office here in Montreal, in Canada. All right, so it's going to be an exciting day. The markets, seem to have something of interest for us in stock today, or in store today, I should say. And let's see if we can capitalize on some of the interesting setups that we're going to find together today. All right, but before we get started, a quick reminder that trading does contain substantial risk and therefore is not suited for every investor. If you trade, make sure to only use risk capital, which is money that you actually can afford to lose. When it comes to backtest performance or really anything based on historical data, keep in mind that this is not necessarily indicative of future performance, and any trade ideas and setups discussed in this webinar should not be construed as trade advice. These are for educational purposes only. All right, so real quick, who we are tradingindicators.com. I already mentioned, my name is Daniel Sinek. I'm the guy here on the left-hand side. And together with Homer, we have created trading indicators about 10 years ago. And around, I think 5 years ago, maybe longer even, Nicholas joined our crew here, and he's been instrumental behind many of our latest innovations. And I'm welcoming also Nicholas today here with us in our live trading workshop. You probably know of Nicholas very well so far. He's very active in our Discord channel, posting trade setups. He's been live trading a lot, and he's in all our lunch and learn sessions as well. So, hey, Nicholas, how are you today? All right. So, what we're going to do today, we're going to focus on what's called technical analysis. We're also going to try to keep it as simple as possible, because when it comes to trading, oftentimes the simplest solution is sometimes the best one. And how we look for simplicity in the market and how we can distinguish between noise and significant information, we're going to discover together today. But having this said, of course, we will focus on technicals, but of course, we're also going to at least take a look at some of the fundamental events, the economic events that will take place today. In fact, this is one of our first steps that we always do before we start trading, to make sure that we're not leading into a major economic event which could shake the markets and which could introduce unpredictability, because that's, of course, the biggest enemy, so to say, when it comes to trading. All right, a couple of ground rules. So what we're going to do today is so-called day trading. We're going to day trade futures, and we also, perhaps, if time permits, look at some stocks which may have interesting setups. Now, the concepts that we're going to go through today, however, are universally applicable. So if you're not necessarily a day trader, or perhaps not a futures trader, you should be able to apply the same concepts for larger time frames, or to a larger time frame, for example, like swing trading. Also, today we are going to use TradingView once again as our trading platform. And the simple reason for that is that it's really the greatest common denominator. So even if you perhaps use NinjaTrader or a different platform, chances are you will also have a TradingView account, and you can easily follow along when we use TradingView as our trading platform. Also, keep in mind that we will aim at taking live trades today. But time permitting, and of course, market conditions always change, they may not represent the perfect setups. But the objective today is to really take some live trades so you can see how we open these trades, and also when or how we close these trades. And sometimes this, because you can never predict market conditions, these trades will be, in quotes, forced or closed up prematurely. But the idea is to really give you a round trip experience today, how we open and close trades. Now, while we're doing everything in our power to have winning trades, of course, why wouldn't we? We, of course, cannot guarantee, nobody can guarantee that every trade is going to be a winner. That's impossible. It would be too good to be true. Also today, it may not be the case. In fact, we've had live trading workshop where it didn't work out at all. Not recently. Recently, we've been quite successful, but it may happen. However, we will do everything, as I mentioned before, in our power to increase our odds. So we're going to use multi-time frame analysis using our liquidity IQ indicator, looking at support and resistance levels, at volume information, trend and momentum with MA Rush, and so forth. And of course, we're also going to avoid major market events. And our very first thing, once I switch over the helm to Nicholas, is we're going to check out the economic calendar to see what's going on today in the market. Is there anything major happening? All right. All right. So with this, guys, two more things. This live trading workshop is really for you. So if you have any questions or symbol requests, please don't hold back. Put these questions into the Q&A box. And we're gonna, answer these questions as we go along through this webinar. Just one last thing, our two main indicators that we will be using today are, you probably could have guessed it already, Liquidity IQ, which will show us these support and resistance levels, these key levels on the chart once it's applied. And this is really an indicator which gives us, some sort of big picture. What are these key zones? Where is price in relation to these zones and so forth? And then to fine tune our entries, we will also be using Volume IQ, our volume profile indicator, to see what's going on volume wise. Where are the sell zones? Where are the buy zones? Where's the zone of control? Which action zones have been forming around price action? So these two indicators we will use primarily today. And thirdly, we may also use MA Rush to give us an instant read on what is the current momentum pointing to. Is it rather bearish or bullish? All right. So without further ado, I think it's time to switch over to the charts. And Nicholas, are you there to take over with the charts?
Yeah, let's go.
Perfect.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we
You
can.
eh? Okay, it's not showing my microphone receiving audio, but that's good. Okay, let me share my screen here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, like Daniel mentioned, is we're going to hop into the economic calendar here in TradingView, bottom right where my mouse is. And this will tell us, is there anything big happening? And I notice no. Oh, no, this is the wrong day. We're back up here. Okay, so is there anything happening today? Nothing in the future in terms of big economic events. Everything's already passed. GDP growth quarter over quarter for the US right here. That's already done. So we have nothing to worry about on that front. And there's probably no earnings coming out midday that are going to matter to us. So the way we have our charts set up during these sessions is for each symbol, we typically look at the 5-minute chart where we have all three of those indicators mentioned, volume IQ, MA Rush, and liquidity IQ. But on the 5-minute chart, liquidity IQ is set to the 15-minute reference time frame. And then we have a 5-minute chart for every symbol. And then we also have a 15-minute chart for every symbol to give us a bit more of a bird's eye view. And on this chart, the only difference is liquidity IQ is set to a 1-hour reference time frame. So it's giving us more of a bird's eye view. And this way, we get to see, well, is there a setup and is it confirmed across multiple time frames? What's happening with the volume profile so we can get as much information as possible. So one thing I see here this morning, just as we're going through these symbols, we're going to talk about what the setup might be on NASDAQ. So here I'm on the micro NASDAQ contract, MNQ. What we see here is there's been some liquidity captures at resistance. So price is having trouble breaking through this basically $21,700 level from yesterday. And this has been a pivot in the past, of course, right back here. However, even though it's having some trouble and there's a liquidity capture saying resistance is holding up, I'm not about to short here. We're not about to short right now for two reasons. Is number one, MA Rush is bullish on the 15-minute and on the 5-minute. There is bullish momentum. And number two, on the 15-minute chart especially, there is the zone of control down here in volume IQ. The area with the most buying on the most volume on the chart is right below us at 2155. So that's probably going to 21,550. That's probably going to act as support. And also we're in an area where traders seem to historically like to buy. So maybe if we come down to this level really quickly, it might offer a good long entry for a little bounce off of this zone, and we could use this sell block down here as a general stop loss. But I'm not sure we would want to do that anyways, because if we come down to there, well, all buyers since basically the market closed yesterday are underwater. So we'd probably want to see what happens if it comes and reacts here. Instead, the setup I'd be thinking here is let's see if we get a push up to 700 and then some sort of a retrace back to it. What's your thoughts on that, Daniel?
Yeah, good idea. Let's see how things develop. I'm kind of torn, or as you said, let's see if we get down to this tier two buy zone, maybe we can take a bit of a risky trade. But if we, of course, break above that resistance level, yeah, either we could consider going long outright, or if we do see a zone break retrace pattern there, play it more conservatively, wait until the initial fake out is over, and then consider a long trade. Yep.
Definitely. And right now, this is changing to a sell block here because this candle, which spans the whole region, is turning red. So now there's actually more selling volume being detected here, which means this capture might turn into a dump down towards that level. But I think it's a good idea to wait here. It's not clear which way it's going to go. So on oil, MCL, micro crude oil contracts. This is the 5-minute chart. And on the 5 minutes, MA Rush been bearish for a very long time. We did have a reversal here, and on the 5 minute, that caused MA Rush to go bullish down here. This morning, we also broke above on the 5-minute chart this area, which was acting as a ton of resistance with all this high volume. We broke above it, which was around 72.60, and now price is testing the resistance up at $73. I kind of like this one. On the 15-minute chart, it actually it had a zone break here. It tried to break down. We still have bearish momentum from a long time ago on the 15-minute chart since Thursday the 16th, up at $78. So this downtrend hasn't stopped, and there's no real sign it's going to stop. So we had this zone break attempt down here. Price came back, regained the level, which was about, let's say, 72.5. It came down to test it again. There was a bunch of liquidity capture, so a lot of buying volume here this morning. And then price bounced up off of it. I would really love to short this up here if we got to come all the way up to here, because we'd still be in a long-term downtrend. We would be within a selling block where people like to sell, and I think that would be overextended and due for a retracement back downwards if we can get a short here. But I'm also keeping an eye on the fact that we bounced off this support down here, but now we're seeing, okay, it bounced. What's going to happen up at this support, which is in its own right, also a zone break retrace, right? This level was broken at $73. We came down, maybe got a little oversold, bounced back up to 73. Now price is trying to figure out, okay, are we going to hold 73 or are we going to drift back downwards? So I'm actually not that against this one for a potential. Well, the only reason I wouldn't want to short it right now is that we still have all this buying volume and support to deal with down here. But I think it might be a good potential short idea if we lose this area and head back down to support. So we'll keep an eye out for that just to see what happens at least.
Maybe Nicholas, show us at the same time how you would define an alert when price gets to a certain level in TradingView, because that's a technique we frequently use to let TradingView do the alerting for us, so we don't have to constantly flop between charts.
Sure. Yep. So we would click up here on alert and then say, hey, what's the price? I want to know about this symbol crossing. I want to know, are we starting to fight for that tier 2 zone, the zone of control again? Because that'll be kind of an over-under trade. I like it if we start to lose 72.60s for a short. One contract expecting us to revisit that support because we don't really have much buying pressure or volume down there in the first place. I think this might have just be shorts covering, causing this bounce. So I want to get an alert. Let's say if we cross 72.65. So boom, we're going to get that alert. Here it is on the chart if it happens. Okay, so that's oil. I would also like to know, though, if oil crosses up here, 73.35, because we want to know if it comes up to this sell zone as well. Oops, my bad.
And Nicholas, as the next symbol, just because of recent events, can we check out M2K, please, the micro Russell?
Yes, sure.
I'm just had an eye on that on my end here. Oh, that actually was a good one too, of the tier 2 sell, which you just had open. So just a quick review what's going on here. So here we do have
I'm on the 15-minute with a 1-hour reference time frame. We'll finish loading shortly.
Yeah. Oh, that's not what I see. I see this is M2K. I'm on the 5-minute with the 15 minutes, and I do see a potential zone break retrace forming
Once
if this
recalculates.
reloads. Yeah.
I just loaded up the other template, so it should be done soon.
Okay.
I think I overwrote my template. Okay, there we go. Let me change that to the 15 minutes. It hasn't recalculated yet. There we go. And Daniel, you're muted?
Oh, sorry. Yes, so here just because it might be of interest if you get down to that zone break area, maybe we'll see what's going to happen. I consider along there. Let's see, but just to put an alert there to be aware of when we get if we should be get down to this level, maybe we could consider a long trade. Yeah.
Sure, 23. Let's put 2314.5. Cool.
Perfect.
Oh, okay, so we'll know about that.
On to the next one that you had there with the interesting
Sure.
tier
And
tier two cell.
I just want to check one of these symbols. I forgot. We've never traded this symbol, but thanks to an alert in our Discord this morning, I was inclined to check it out, which was natural gas. I don't know if the setup's still valid, but the chart on natural gas, and here, by the way, Daniel, is the on, whoops, this is MNQ, my mistake. I meant to go to M2K. M2K. Anyways, I just was going to point out that even on the 15-minute with the 1 hour reference time frame, it still looks bullish. There's just a resistance higher up. So that's definitely a great retrace trade if we come back down to there. I agree. We also have a nice place to put a stop in here, maybe at the bottom of this range. Okay, so MNQ is blasting off. I just want to point that out. Should have set an alert on this one. But natural gas, look at this. Wow, what happened here? On natural gas futures. I don't know what the news was. What's this down here? Oh, no, damn it. It's a contract switch, guys. So be aware of that. I have it on B back. I should have had this on back adjusted. That would have taken care of that. It's basically when they roll the contract over, sometimes there could be big price gaps. TradingView usually gives you a little warning in the corner, but it didn't in this case. So I had to click back adjusted. That explains it. But we're still going to take a look here at what's happening on natural gas. Short break through 336. Retrace, short break back down. I think this is a little bit oversold until we see more of an update. MA Rush is bullish here. I don't want to chase this downtrend with a short, and I don't think it looks good for a long. So we'll check out something else, maybe here on the Dow. So this is Dow Mini, and I'm going to take a look at what's happening on NASDAQ just to make sure we're not missing out on anything. Here is the 5-minute chart with the 15-minute reference. So we're testing that level that we just spoke about. 700 liquidity capture. It doesn't mean anything at this point in time. Price could still fly up. I guess we'll sit and watch this develop. I don't want to buy something that's overbought just yet. It is still early in the morning, 20 minutes in. We might get a better entry.
Yeah, and Nicholas, let's keep the when we flip through the charts, keep in mind that there's a delay always a bit.
Sure, yes,
yeah.
it's going a little quickly here.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's another setup here on the Dow E-mini Dow Jones. So we're on the 15-minute chart here. We've got liquidity IQ on the 15-minute. I want that to be on the 1 hour when we're on our 15-minute chart. And well, what do we see here? So number one, there's a lot of buying volume below us, which is a lot of support, right? So right here, people are obviously buying throughout this trend. And of course, the Dow is in a large uptrend. Yesterday, we did have a switch on MA Rush to going bearish with a lot of things. They changed direction quickly midday. I think it was a Fed meeting yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, and everything kind of quickly had this dip right here before jumping back up. So that might have faked out MA Rush. This did get bought up at support when we came down here to 44.7, and we do have this bullish bias on volume IQ. So there's a lot of stuff contradicting each other here. This could be a decent reward to risk short opportunity right here because we have a nice place to place our stop loss, but there's a lot of things going against us taking that trade, like the overall bias being bullish, the symbol bouncing off support extremely hard. I just want to check the 5-minute here. So this is the 15-minute. And the bet on that trade, if we took that tier 2 sell, would be that we're expecting some sort of a retracement downwards off of 45,000. What do you think about that one, Daniel? Sorry for the delay here. Let me hop back to the 5-minute chart to take a look at it.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. It gets into this tier 2 sell zone there. I just don't like the fact that we don't have any resistance zone from liquidity IQ in that area where we could bounce off to. And of course, the overall bullish momentum in Dow. But well, let's see what happens. Ideally, everything needs to come or should be coming together that we have, a resistance zone that we approach, perhaps even a liquidity capture event, and we're getting in a tier two sell or buy zone for a trading decision, aligning with MA Rush as well. So that's not all coming together. So I would
Mm-mm.
let's see how it pans out in terms of what Nasdaq is doing. It's also blasting off. I guess all the indices are taking off this morning. Let's see if they perhaps slow down at some point, and then we potentially consider, yeah,
For
a
sure. In
short.
fact, the only thing here in the favor would be just MA Rush being bearish, but we already kind of said, hey, that might have just been a fake out due to the volatility after the Fed. And above 45,000 here. By the way, this tier two, what was a tier two sell, turns blue or turns green because it becomes a buy once we start to get above it. So it's no longer acting as resistance. Once it's past the center, it'll start to act as support. And because we have a bullish bias in the profile overall, it's going to say, hey, that might be a good buy opportunity. Also, historically, we have a big bias in buy volume above 45,000, mostly because traders, once it breaks above 45K, they start buying, right? Because they figure it's a breakout. But I do agree with you, Daniel, that there's not a lot of resistance immediately overhead. And if one of these zones ended up getting tested, that's 150 points away almost.
Yeah.
On the 5 minute chart, there, and look, we have, it's just all buying volume historically, which could be good for a stop loss, but it does look up here, the volume, I think, where's all-time highs? Higher than this, I believe, right? Or maybe not. Maybe this was all-time highs. So shorting up at all-time highs when there's a bunch of buying pressure right above your short might not be the best state of affairs, but let's wait to see what happens. I still think maybe if we got up to this tier two sell 45.50 on the 5 minute chart, it would just be a good reward to risk short. Maybe not the highest probability, but good reward to risk because our stop loss would only be about 40 points away, which is nothing on the Dow. So here I'm going back to NQ. So we had a zone break. Now we're getting a retrace, and the retrace is probably going to not only happen within this zone, but also pay attention here. This is where buyers are. So the retrace might come down to something as low as like 670s really quickly. I don't think it's that unwise here, Daniel, to take a long with a stop right here at the 660 region. Let's wait to see what
Let's
happens here.
yeah, let's here. I'd like to see a bit of a confirmation that this is not like an instant reversal in Nasdaq. It's a bit too fast to my taste, for my taste. And we jumped up and right at the next bar, it goes back down again.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if where this downwards move goes to. If it slows down, if you see some, maybe perhaps some bullish bars coming in, and then I would consider uh going long. But I'd like to see a bit of confirmation for this one, at least for this bearish move that we see right now to slow down.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And here, so we have a lot of buying pressure right here as people expect it to break 700. There's a huge, what we call a floor or a shelf of volume right here, 660, 670. So if it drops down to there, that's where it's going to rebound off, I would think. Or, at these levels, if anywhere. Maybe we'll see a cleaner retrace, but yeah, let's see what happens. If this level right here, just talking about a nice way to read volume IQ, if the 670s got broken, 670 to 650, traders start to panic historically because we're expecting 650 to break. That's why we've got this sell pressure right here, and it would probably dip lower, but we'll see what happens here. So oil still hanging out here. Let's check out some other symbols to see if maybe we have some cleaner setups.
What about
Natural
gold, Nicholas? I mean, gold, I think is just off to the
off to the
races.
races. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any hope in getting in on this securely
And once
whatsoever.
again, here we need to back adjust the contract.
Yeah, good point. So, well, it could be a setup for a break retrace. Oh, wow. Okay, yeah. With it back adjusted, we're not that far away from resistance. So if we came back down to here,
Yeah.
I think this would be a good reward to risk because we have a couple things in our favor. Not only are we retesting the resistance to support, but there's a bunch of selling. Well, I mean, it's not based on that much information, but there's selling pressure around here. So if we place a stop loss, maybe I'd say down here where the shelf starts to jut out, we can expect that if that holds up, then maybe the sellers are going to get exhausted. So let's put an alert at price 28. What's this? 28.19.5. Cool. So we got an alert right there. NASDAQ continuing upwards. Oil is still hanging out here. One other symbol I saw today that came from alerts in the Discord was ZB T-bond futures. So I had initially looked at this because I thought maybe we're going to get a zone break retrace. Oops. But the zone break fell off a little bit from that zone more than expected. So kind of a boring symbol right now. Let me check in our Discord to see is there anything else that has a nice setup right now. We haven't checked out, well, we did for a second, but Bitcoin we haven't really checked out. We can also check out corn futures and what else? Let's keep an eye on that. Here's that Dow. Oh no, I should have set an alert here, but I don't think we would have taken it. But Dow Jones came and did rebound off of that tier 2 sell area. So far, we'll see what happens there. NQ is also still kind of retracing back down. Let's get rid of this natural gas chart. Instead, replace it with micro Bitcoin and see what's happening here. So this is on the 15-minute with the 1 hour. Okay, good. Popped off a little bit with all the indices. Bullish momentum.
So yeah, here we are in a tier 2 buy zone. I mean,
just below us here, actually about 1,000 points below. At 106.
So funny to say just 1,000 points below Bitcoin.
No, yeah, I'm kind of
huge.
pointing out that it's actually not in the tier 2. It's pretty
Yes.
far away. But I mean, I don't want to, we do ideally want to find a setup, even if it's not entirely optimal that we can take today.
Yeah.
But, you know, if I was about to take a risky trade, if we came down into here, I think this would be a high reward to risk long because you can buy one contract here, set a stop just below the morning's pivot low, like right here, 105.5, because we're probably going to accelerate downwards if we get down there, and expecting us to come back up and revisit this resistance zone for a target.
Yeah. NASDAQ is losing its level as it looks like. See, it's a big.
The Dow is probably falling too then. This would have been a good short, but not everything
Yeah.
lined up.
But for NASDAQ, I'm thinking, so this resistance level where we just wicked above temporarily, maybe if we were, because there are a couple of sellers there in this area right now, and then there is kind of a lowish volume zone with neutral. Yeah. Let's also here, I would still stay on the sidelines a bit longer until we get some extra clarity in the market. This seems to me.
We're testing that floor here, Daniel, that we were talking about. Right here, we were saying there's a lot of volume in the 650 to 670 range. If that breaks, then it's probably going to dip very fast.
Yeah.
Very hard. So it's kind of struggling and fighting for it.
So maybe put an alert
right
just when we get below that floor for a potential short trade.
Sure. Okay. Oops, daisies. Price 21,665 or 6. You know what? It'll be more for sure at 655. Okay, which might be seconds away. Oil. Okay. I love how long-term short biased oil is. So I'm kind of trying to keep an eye on it, but I don't want to force a short trade on it. But I do think it's going to eventually continue going back downwards, which is why I still want to keep an eye on it. MQ, MNQ, it's because I've set not to set a pop-up for our alerts by default by mistake. So make sure not to do that. I turned off notify me. So it's alerting, but I'm not getting a notification. So turn these on if you actually want your alerts to work.
And
so we
maybe
did.
This could be if we. I mean, this looks to me like a reversal, like a morning reversal in the indices.
If I was going to take this too, Daniel, I would also not. I would treat this as a 2 entry trade. Although I know we don't want to risk too much. But if we short here, we're shorting it extended against the drop. It's not. So it wouldn't be surprising if it came back up to test like the 680s, 690s, which is the lower end of the selling range, at which point you scale in a second contract with a stop, like right above the resistance.
Or just place a limit order, just playing on the fact that, hey, if we get back above into that resistance level there, we're gonna short there. I love placing limit orders. Price will come to me versus the opposite. This has saved me countless times from making bad trades because maybe not as far high as this, but just below that. Oh no, sorry, a bit higher. Maybe I was mistaken. Maybe just yeah, something
The
like
entry order?
this. Yeah, near there.
Okay.
That I think is
And we can always modify our stop once the trade gets opened.
yeah,
Okay, and where did I place that limit? Place it at 680. We'll see what happens.
because it's a good point that Nicholas said. Hey, we had this sharp drop off, a retracement could be in the cards, and then we of course we would get a much better entry price. Maybe show also how we hooked up our trading account here in Trading View, Nicholas, while we edit.
Sure, I'm just reviewing the order, making sure any of this stuff makes sense. Looks good. Okay, so you can set up your connection on TradingView by clicking on the trading panel down here. Trading panel, and it's going to open up with tons of broker options. You'll probably find yours in here. There's a good chance. And we use interactive brokers. We click that, and then we're able to log in, and then we have full access to our account and everything. And wow, what a drop. So here, guys, pointing out here, although everything didn't line up on this, and I want to point out something too. It's the first 30 minutes of the market, which is why it's always good to be hesitant for going against the prevailing move sometimes. Although these would have both been good short trades.
Oh boy, my
Yeah,
bad.
big opportunity.
Sorry.
No, they would have been good short trades, but not everything was in our favor. And it's not to say that once we come down to here, all of a sudden we don't start to move back in the same direction. We're all the way back up to here within an hour and a half.
And,
So I'm going to exit our trade, our
and I just said it.
alert
Oh,
right
this
here.
has saved me countless of money of placing these limit orders, but of course also I very missed out of a couple of good trades at the same time. It's in trading, no regrets. If you miss a good trade, always keep in mind there's another one just around the corner. And
Yeah,
patience
exactly.
is typically a good advisor in trading. So don't have the fear of missing out, FOMO. We're gonna find something.
Yeah, and be careful controlling your FOMO. Like especially when you make a loser, or you sorry, you have a losing trade, and then you're like, oh, it's going to bounce in the opposite direction. You got to resign. Yeah, remove your emotions entirely from it, and try to keep things as logical as possible. Like for example, I feel a tinge of, hey, we just missed that short. Well, maybe I can catch the oil short now. Yeah, but the setup still isn't there. We're having a zone break retrace up to retest this, although we do now have support. This resistance down here acting as support. It's looking to me like the market's really trying to break through this resistance. I still want to wait for us to get that over under trade through the 770 area. If we come down to here and we start to lose this level, 770, 760, this is a very inexpensive contract. I would enter market short one there. And then if we do come back up to here, enter short another and use this as our stop, and that'll still be very low risk, even less than what we were risking on MNQ. So we're going to keep that alert there. Look at that. See, just what I was saying. Not that it's not going to continue back down, and look where it bounced off of too, right? Where buyers started, well, not actually right, but some buying levels. But look, it's all the way back up to where we were looking at it like a few minutes ago when that massive drop happened, at least on Dow. NASDAQ is having a little bit more trouble recovering, and it looks like it might drop all the way down to the zone of control, which wouldn't be surprising. And the MA rush is technically bullish here. So a lot of shorts were certainly getting scared this morning, and they're probably thanking God that now it's dropped this much and they're not in the red. So I wouldn't be surprised if when we came down to this tier 2 buy, that it won't bounce off there. So that might be a quick long scalp opportunity if we do plummet that fast there. Because on the 15-minute, we're still in a bullish trend. That's also a tier 2 buy zone on the 15-minute trend, and we have very easy reward to risk with a sell block being right here around the 15, let's say 21,510 area, because people start to panic once you get to something like 21,510 because they're implicitly thinking, hey, 21,500 is going to go, and then we'll be at 21,300 in 5 minutes. So a good reward to risk here from like the 530, 540 region. We have 500 as a stop. Sorry, Daniel, what were you going to say?
No, that's good. Yes, let's set an alert too when price actually drops down there on NASDAQ.
Definitely. Okay. Oops. Boom. Price crossing 21. I want to know if we're crossing 21,539. Okay. Maybe actually, I think that's a little bit excessive. 21,543. And then we'll see how does it react here. If we can get down, if we can enter at some spot within this tier 2 buy, especially the lower end near the lower, um, 510 or something like that, that's good reward to risk. And how we would think, it's not a science, but right below that region, people like to sell because psychologically and logically, once we get down to 500, people panic that 500 is going to break and that we're going to plummet to 400. And we can see a drop off here in the volume profile. I would probably place our stop right here, 21,476 if we got in around 21,505, 21,510. We'll see what happens. But the reason being that's where, or maybe even a little bit more, like 21,480 or something like this, because once we get down to there, we can see the volume drops off and it's likely to accelerate really quickly through there. But, you can't expect it to hit 500 to the tick and not at least drop to like the 490s or 480s. But I think we should wait here with this. So let's see oil. Yeah, it looks like oil is actually gaining that level.
And after oil, let's check out micro copper MHG. There's a nice zone break retrace potentially in the making.
Sure. Wow. Look at gold and Bitcoin. Okay. So what's that on the 5 minute with the 15-minute reference time frame?
Yeah, and both actually, but yeah, so you can see it here. The price broke above resistance. It's very bullish. So that could be something of interest. Volume IQ is not really helping us there, except for the fact that there are lots of buyers in this area, but there's not much historical volume as far as volume IQ is concerned in our look back period. So we don't get that much of a read. But if we get back to that level, we had the zone break, hey, and we're very bullish. This looks like a clean trend to me. This could be an interesting long
Yeah.
opportunity. We have a very well-defined risk just below that resistance level that we just broke through.
Yeah. And you were saying about volume IQ. So I'm going to point something out here. Yeah, you're right. Doesn't really give that much information historically. But one thing I do read from it is if we get the retrace down to here, um, we might buy one contract. Now, I never ever enter one contract in a trade. Basically, I'm always trying to make a plan that expects me to dollar cost average or expects an area where I'm going to take the second entry. I'm never just doing one contract because I think a lot of the time you don't even get to enter the trade if you. And this is where I differ from Daniel, where Daniel will like to wait for it to move. I'm more impatient where I'm thinking, I at least want to get in part of the trade now and I can enter in later. But the problem with that is sometimes you stand to lose more. But one thing from volume IQ here is if we come down to this zone, we retrace to the resistance zone right here, 431. We enter one contract. Now, one information we do see from volume IQ though, so entering one contract here would be, okay, we're at least in the trade. However, at that resistance level, there is technically a sell volume bias. So I wouldn't be surprised if then we broke down further when it came to retest it, than just popping and hitting it and then popping right off. I would expect maybe for us to break further and then finally stop dropping or retracing down here, because here is a peak kind of in the volume profile, right? There's a lot of volume here. And not only is there a lot of volume, but if this level wasn't neutral right here, all of this area would be a buy bias block. So I would actually enter a second contract as we come down to here, still expecting that to be part of the retrace, and then place my stop right here, which is where the buyers end, and say, okay, it failed. The buyers are getting overrun by supply. So maybe let's put an alert. Let's definitely put an alert right here.
A bit higher, even when it gets to the beginning of that
Good point.
broken resistance level. And I think, Nicholas, there's even a shortcut to make these alerts. At least I was, if you go actually, can I just little trading view hack for everyone? Because if you just take out the alert for 1 second, so I want to show you guys how else you could do it. Okay, if you
Oops.
just delete it. Yeah. So let's say you want to define an alert when price crosses a certain price level. If you now look at the very right at the price scale, just a little plus sign there. You can just click there. It clicks the alert right away. Bang.
Oh, this gives you and look, you could even put stop and limit
Yeah,
orders.
that's
I didn't
pretty
know
cool.
that. I was gonna say another thing too, if you don't click that, is you can right click too and click create alert if it's not Well, you can't. No, you can add alert, but that's way worse than doing that. So right here, click here,
Little trading view hack.
add alerts. Okay, what is the alert? Crossing. Okay, by default. Nice. Thank you, Daniel. So let's see what happens there. MNQ. Yeah, see, this is the first 30 minutes to an hour of the trading day are always the fastest. Usually. So liquidity capture, we came down. Let me hop over back to MNQ back on the 5 minute, and let's now try to really put in some effort here to find a setup that we can take.
Nicholas, oil is looking really nice right now. We're getting close to that tier 2 sell zone. So hopefully, so our alert is still a bit out, but this, I think, we're probably gonna get that fill or that alert, and then considering an oil could be a very interesting setup here. Yeah, a short in oil.
Yeah, and we were saying, let's refresh our memory. So the trade we were taking was based on the 15 minute with liquidity IQ on the 1 hour. I could just use my template here. Oh, for some reason, this page does not have my template. So liquidity IQ on the 1 hour. And our thinking here, get rid of this alert, was once we come up to here, into here, even 734, 73.4, that's a nice short entry. Very nice. And I would say, because this micro oil is a very inexpensive contract. So even if we flew up to here on one micro contract, that's like $18. So right here, we go one micro contract. I think if we then test up to even here, a second micro contract, and then we put our stop above this pivot, because that's when we start to get out of this selling pressure area and it might start to take off
And
towards 74.
and what I like about this symbol is if you just look at the price action, we have this stair-stepping move downwards, and it kind of looks like it's continuing. That was a nice short of you there, Nicholas. I see.
I think this was during a no, that wasn't me. That was your trade. That was your trade on oil.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. Wow, it was a beautiful short, and now it's forming up to another short here. So I think I like the stair stepping. Go down, price goes up again, go down, and so forth. And here with the stair steps, if you see this in price action, we have a very well-defined stop loss. If you actually, don't make lower lows anymore or and lower highs, then this stair stepping pattern is somewhat broken. And yeah, we will get out of it. Definitely interesting one.
For sure. Okay, so on NQ, so we got our alert set there. We're going to take a trade up there once we get there. I think 100% we need to take a trade during the session, ideally. We should take in one micro contract once we get to 73.40 or high 30s. And one way about reading volume profiles, it's never going to tell the future exactly. But see how this block right here, this level between 730 and 736, 737 jets out. There's a lot of volume there. That's, for me, that'd be an argument why I should enter one micro contract actually right around there, because it might act as resistance, since historically a lot of people sell there. There's a lot of volume. We might not make it all the way up, but that's why we can scale in two contracts at the
Nicholas,
same
please,
time.
sorry, also because of recent events, MNG, please, it forms up very nicely, getting into a two-tier sell zone with a resistance level just on top. So that's also looking quite promising there.
On the 5 with the 15?
Yeah, or I have it on the 15, but I think reference time frame for Liquidity IQ is also the 50-minute.
Okay,
So if you look there, so we're getting into this, it calculates.
oh yeah, a lot of volume.
So that could be an interesting short. Look where the resistance level of, or the broken support level of Liquidity IQ is. It's just above price, and this could be a very nice zone break retrace of some sort. Of course, Emmy Rush says bullish, but I think overall this symbol is quite bearish if you look at the longer term price action. So this definitely could be also an interesting short if we get just a little bit higher towards this resistance support level that was just broken.
Sure, let's see what happens. And another thing here, what I would be, I mean, everything's bearish. One thing that would be worrying me here is we already made a massive drop. I have to back adjust this once again. We are down. Oh, no. So here it looks a little bit less insane than it looked. But one thing that worries me in a scenario like this, and I do agree, we'll take this, is we had a big drop over the past 24 hours, and now the most volume traded over that entire period is below us, which might be a sign of accumulation and a bounce coming, if you see what I'm saying. But there is selling pressure historically. Um, so let's see.
Let's put the alert
Right
just
here,
yeah, just a bit lower
315.
maybe. Yeah.
Okay,
Just at the beginning of that
perfect.
zone, then we can reevaluate. For now, we're just setting up the alerts. And then of course, once we get alerted, we're gonna think one more time, hey, is this a something we want to take or not?
What do you think about how expensive is this contract? Let's see.
Oh, another good life hack, trading view is if you want to find out how expensive or how much you risk, just put in a hypothetical stop loss in there, and you will see right away how much you would gain to lose or win. And then you can gauge how expensive that contract is. Of course, it's not always straightforward with these future contracts to, yeah, understand that risk.
So very inexpensive contract. Um, what do you think about this plan, Daniel? Is if we come up to there, short one contract, and then if we come up to, let's say, test here. Now, this is where the volume starts to get cut out and we would accelerate upwards if we got there. If we do push up to here, short a second contract and place our stop loss right here at
Sure, let's do it.
320.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's reasonable because then we might end up going and testing these pivots in the first place. These pivots from earlier today, I mean. Okay. That way, at least, because I was worried that we came down so quickly here. I was worried that if we tested this, we would accelerate up too quickly. But at least this point, we have a scale in plan. This does, though, now looking at it, now that it's back adjusted, does look better because if this does hold up as support and people are selling big time, we are in such a rapid downtrend. If this gets lost, so this tier two zone, which currently is blue because we're above it, it's acting like support. This is where everybody who is long this contract has been buying in the past, recent future. So if we do drop below that and we're short from up here, we're probably going to see new lows of the day very quickly because everybody who bought here is going to be underwater. Okay,
Yep.
so let's take a look. MNG. So what symbol? This is on a different time frame. Let me just check how it looks. I'm curious. What were we on the other chart on
15
MNG?
minutes, I think.
15 minute. And if we're on the 5 minute, it pretty much looks the same.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got some buying interest here, but yeah, I do agree. I think it looks a lot better on the 5 minute than it does on the 15 minute. Um, yeah, with the levels. Cool. Okay, so let's keep an eye on that. Let's see what's happening with Dow recovering, at least holding here. I think the Dow, if we come back up into here, so if we come for another retest to 45,000, I think again it's a good um, reward to risk short trade because Nasdaq's not recovering. And although, Dow doesn't exactly correlate with Nasdaq, it might pull it down a tiny bit. I'm thinking if everything is so bearish. So Daniel, what I was saying is if we come up to test 45,000 again, I think it's a decent reward to risk short
Yep.
here
I
and
agree.
with a stop loss right around
Just
here at
above.
45.50. Very low risk because if we do
Or
break 40, yeah,
or even above that pivot, huh? All the way a little bit higher. What the recent highs there?
here,
Yeah, the stop loss.
sure, yeah, and
Yeah.
that's also a round number 45,100. Okay, so Nasdaq coming down to our alert.
And John just informed us at 10:30 there is the natural gas inventory report coming out. So that could be something of interest to see how natural gas will react to it. And thanks, John, for alerting us. So definitely something to keep in mind if you trade this symbol. So maybe we're gonna wait until this thing actually is released to see how price
Great
reacts to
point.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks, John.
like we were saying, a symbol we never traded, natural gas. We just added it to the free alerts there. So that's a good thing to learn here. Thank you. Because apparently TradingView doesn't consider natural gas news to be important. So we had to turn off high importance ones about that. So good to do. In the future, we should keep that off when we're checking through events, just in case. Okay, yeah, for example here, I mean, what symbols are going to be affected by these? Does anybody know anything about these bill auctions and if they affect bonds or anything like that? That'd be interesting to know. Okay, so oil, you never know. Could be the reversal of the long-term downtrend. We did get to the end. I mean, we talk about this in Lunch and Learns all the time. We're still going to take that short, but we did get to, what am I doing here? Let's go over to oil and let's set Liquidity IQ to the daily chart.
I,
Yeah,
I
we did get to the bottom of some very long-term pivots around here, but
yeah.
yeah, I still like it for a short.
We always see it now at Tuesday sessions. Oil has been, at least it feels like this for an eternal sideways, an eternal sideways channel, at least for a couple of years, bouncing between 81, 82, and the 65 area. So from that point of view, there's still ways to go to get to the 65, but we may see a bit of a pause in this retracement right now at this key level where oil is in right now.
For sure. Okay, let me put this on the 15. Keep that back in our radar. Let me check if we got anything that we're missing coming from the free alerts on the 5-minute.
And NQ is getting to our oh, NQ is losing it real quick, but it's getting into our tier 2 buy zone there.
Yep. So our plan was to try and get the teens or the 20s and the 500s and put the
Yeah,
stop down below 500.
even though that's a rapid move downwards, but let's see what happens at the zone of control.
Okay, we still haven't triggered our alert, at least. MCL, bonds not doing anything. Your setup here on natural gas turning in the direction we wanted before we get in when we want, but we do have that stuff coming up at 10:30,
Yeah.
the inventory. So let's see what happens on Dow. So Dow is and very, very and inversely correlated to NASDAQ this morning, right? NASDAQ goes up, Dow goes down. NASDAQ goes down,
Yeah,
Dow goes up.
it's interesting how uncorrelated these two symbols are sometimes. You may think, hey, indexes are to some degree always correlated because they track stocks to some degree. But even when we had the big drop on Monday, I think NQ, the Nasdaq, lost like 4% or 3%, whereas the Dow, I think, closed up positive, or was it the Russell? Something like very inverse in that sense.
I think we should grab the short here, Daniel. Wait, let me just check here. What am I seeing here? On the 15-minute chart, MYM, and then on the 15-minute chart, I'm just wondering why there's a slight discrepancy. Okay, it's because the contract was not back adjusted. So I do think this could be a good potential short, but I mean, now that we have the contract back adjusted, which we shouldn't have had, I mean, which we should have already had, it does look a little less optimal. But I don't know. What do you think, Daniel? We should take it. We got a nice reward to risk if we just use the local pivot.
Yeah, I mean, for the sake of taking trades, this could definitely be one that we could consider. The setup is not ideal, as you say, because just above this we have a buy zone
Yeah.
as per volume IQ. Ah,
Yeah, I wouldn't want to take it because it's against so many different factors that we generally consider and recommend considering. So I think we should ignore it at least. Unfortunately, guys, we're trying to force a trade so that you get some action. This morning, we missed a couple nice
oh,
opportunities that we were looking at.
we're gonna get some trades.
Here we go. Right there on oil. Let's take that first contract. We have come up to the zone. It's fighting for it now. We got selling pressure up here, and we were saying we're going to use this. We actually said we would take a second entry here and use these pivots as a stop. What do you think about that, Daniel?
Yep, let's do it.
Alrighty. So here, let's go market, stop. I'll fix that once we get in. Boom, enter, accept. And now the stop loss we were going to use was going to be right around here, actually, because that's a pivot, and that's where the sell block starts to start to taper off a bit. Not that much, but I have a feeling if we get above this pivot, we might accelerate up to $74 and for a test of this resistance, at which point that would be a greater longer term break of the downtrend and things aren't so much in our favor at that point. Another thing about this one here that I'm looking at is we're doing this off of the 15-minute chart. We might hit our stop very quickly here. This is going extremely parabolic. I wonder if oil reacts somewhat to gas inventory somehow. But if this does come up to resistance, MA Rush is still going to be bullish. So, sorry, bearish. MA Rush is bearish on the 15-minute. The optimal setup here for liquidity IQ and volume IQ to team up together and give us the same reading would be a test of resistance up here. Because we've got selling pressure and high volume right above the resistance, which is if it breaks through there, we put our stop, and we would have a short bounce set up inside of a downtrend, which is always nice.
It's Yeah, that would have been a very conservative entry to wait that long. And also, if you want to, play this trade very conservatively, you could also place your stop just above that level. Because, if resistance above is broken, then for sure, this downtrend is not working out as we thought. But right now, let's keep our stop where it is at this pivot high there, which also may act as a bit of resistance. So that's
Yeah, and can always re-short once it comes up to there. There's
yeah.
nothing wrong with exiting when you're a little too early. Okay, so the Dow, we'll see what happens here. It didn't look, I mean, look, it only has two things going for it, which are bearish momentum and this being a tier 2 sell once we're below it. But once we're above it, we're so close to resistance, all-time highs. There's buyers right above there that will quickly accelerate us up. We're not going to take a stance on it.
Let's go back to natural gas. I still
Sure.
like this one. Of course, the news coming out in 3 minutes, but that
I
yeah.
like, sorry, I know, just because I was going to change off this chart, was I do like the NASDAQ, but I also don't like how fast it could go against us if this is broken. So I do agree. Let's prioritize natural gas for now. Sorry, Daniel, to cut you off.
Yeah, no, that does look good. We're getting there. Let's see what the inventory does in like 2 minutes. I keep also an eye at the same time on our oil trade. It's hanging in there so far. Let's see if we get some downside action in oil. And in 1 minute, of course, and 30 seconds, natural gas inventories. Yeah.
So if we put this on the 15-minute, so one thing to see here, and you could do this, I don't recommend it. Your chart's going to get real cluttered real fast, but we could apply the indicator twice. So this is the 15-minute where we've got this support that was broken that's going to be tested as resistance. Then I'm going to go ahead and apply a second version of MA Rush, or sorry, Liquidity IQ. So we can also see the 1 minute, the 1 hour support and resistance, which I believe is up here. So these are all levels that might drive action once we see what happens. Right now, we're above the zone of control. So if things are good, it's probably going to blast off from here. But let's see. I don't even know. Maybe I think it was John who mentioned it. I've never traded natural gas. So does it even react to the inventory violently usually?
Well, I guess we'll find out in about 30 seconds.
Yeah. So MNQ is plummeting. Let's just take a look. I just want to be aware, and I'll go back to natural gas. Sorry, guys, swapping through the charts quick, but we are getting really fast action on NASDAQ, so I don't want to miss anything interesting. Okay, how long do we have here? A trick on Trading View, I don't know why I turned it off,
You can see at the bottom right corner too.
Took the time
eight
right
seconds.
there. I do like having the countdown to bar close right here. Giving us that.
Oh boy. We're in there. Let's see how oil reacts to that news. So far, it's just hanging in there. Not much reaction in oil.
And here on oil on the 5 minute at least, this is a high volume zone. It's probably going to accelerate up to here. If it does break above here, NASDAQ is absolutely dying. Natural gas is bouncing off of there. I think, not knowing about that news kind of changes things.
This would have been such a nice short. I think we should
take it.
Let's put a limit order there for. I think we're going to get back to that level.
Oops. MNG.
Hopefully. Yeah.
MNG. And come on. Let's put a limit 315. How's that?
Yeah.
315 and stop loss. Sounds good. 318. We can change it after.
Cheap contract, but yeah.
Yeah, and we were saying if it did come higher, we might try a second entry in here. Since it's already coming up, let's put it right at the center of the level. Okay, so that's that. Let's check out NASDAQ. So I don't like how intensely volatile NASDAQ is. And sometimes, just pattern recognition and having experience with liquidity IQ, sometimes when you have these super volatile whipsaw mornings, it's not unlikely you see a bounce here and then it ping pongs off the other one, comes all the way down here, then bounces. So we were considering this for a long. It's, I think, oversold for me to want to short here, at least in this session. But this is acting as resistance now, the 540s area. A lot of people have gone long here. Now they're underwater. They're scared that price is going to break below 500. Our idea was to buy in the 510s or low 500s and then set a stop around 470, 479. But I think that's a little too risky, and we've already got our eyes on some other things for now. Okay, oil is having a great day, isn't it? Let's
If you're long or short oil,
yeah, exactly. So let's take a look here. What's happening on the 15
oh
minute
boy.
chart?
Yeah, so that looks like it's gonna blast through that zone of control that we saw. We'll see what's
And we've got,
happening
yeah, we've got our stop where a little bit higher than that. Let me, oh,
just
whoops.
above that pivot. Yeah.
Oh,
But
so it exited our natural gas entry. It's right here above the pivot, which is also above the tier two zone. So we're basically testing to see, is this sell block going to work out?
yeah,
Okay. But this is definitely a very fast move for oil. How much has it moved today? Well, I think it's about on par for how much it tends to whipsaw when it retraces before continuing. So not all hope is lost there. Um,
yeah, and we're just having one contract. This is I think
yeah, it's two
with
dollars in the red. So
yeah.
here on natural gas. So the plan here,
Oh, we got filled to natural
yeah,
gas.
we got
Oh,
filled.
nice, great. I like that. Where's our stop? That's actually, I like this pattern a lot in natural gas because in this case, it coincides nicely with a liquidity IQ level. We didn't have that in oil, which was not ideal, but here we do. And Nicholas, where would we, let's plan out this trade. So we have our stop set there just above this broken support level for a nice retrace trade there. Where would be our target if we look at this?
Honestly, I would hold this to see if we get lows of the day.
Yeah.
To see if I would at least want to see us retest the low of the day. Although that is a lot to ask, and it is near such a, and I'm curious. No, it doesn't seem to be crazy about having trouble breaking a round number like $3. But I would hold this to see, do we get a new low of the day? Because really the target's too close for me to think that that's worth the risk we put in the first place.
Yeah.
I would let it ride. And let's take a look. I'm curious. We didn't even check this on the 1 hour chart on natural gas. So what does it look like? It's very bullish. And here, these are always good things to check. Another reason why I would wait for low of day is even on the 1 hour chart. So I've hopped over to a 1 hour time frame. That zone where I was saying I bet you people are accumulating here, even on the 1 hour, that's the highest traded level. So this is a hugely important zone that we're in now. So we're basically taking an over under trade where if this level holds, it's probably going to go way up. But we're in a downtrend. Even on the 1 hour, it's bearish momentum. We're retesting supports that might act, as resistance. And if this level doesn't hold, then I think momentum downward is going to pick up pace pretty significantly. And even on the 1 hour chart, people start to panic there, right? Because we're expecting $3 is going to get lost. This is another reason. So a good point there is if you're looking for, where am I going to put my target? And you don't see something logical, like on the 5 minute here with liquidity IQ and volume IQ, do I set my target here? That's not that far away. Maybe that's not such a great reward to risk. Well, hop over to another time frame, like maybe the 2 hour, and then adjust your liquidity IQ to see, well, what's some longer term stuff I might expect? Oh my God, Daniel, look at this. Even on the 2 hour, that's the zone of control. So this might have been a really good short trade if it picks up, if we get some fortune in our favor here. Because look at this. If we lose 310,
Yeah.
wow, we might retrace all the way down to 285 or something. That's the nearest level.
That's a, yeah, this one actually is shaping up very nicely. It's a cleaner setup as the oil one, of course, because things just lined up here. If things line up, sometimes good things are happening. So let's see. But yeah, this definitely looks well off to a good start here. Oil is just hanging in there. It's testing that level. Let's see if we see the bounce. Yeah, not much happening there.
I'm curious to see just on a higher time frame what is happening in oil. We just looked at that on, and this also helps you find your stops and stuff. And I think, hey, look, 1 second. Sorry guys for jumping around, but it's going in our favor pretty quick. So maybe that was a great idea. We might see, even below the low of day today. Hopefully, let's see our luck. So on oil, if you're having trouble finding out where to place your stop or target on a smaller time frame, like I just said before, look at a higher time frame, right? It's going to give you, it's always better to look at higher time frames. They're always going to give you a better read on where things are going to go in the longer term. Of course, we're looking on the 5 minute chart. We're trying to open and close trades within an hour and a half, 2 hours. This right here is what I would consider multi-time frame confirmation. Okay, so we took a trade based on a tier 2 sell zone that we saw on a lower time frame. That information's nowhere here. Instead, we had hypothesized that, hey, if we came up above this pivot, the best short area would actually probably be at the resistance up here around $74. Okay, and on the 2 hour chart for oil, up around $74 actually is the beginning of where people like to sell. So we got some confluence there between the time frames. Another thing to note here is our stop loss. We placed it on the 5 minute chart only because it's the end of this sell block and it's above a pivot. But on the 2 hour chart, I can see that was probably a good idea because our stop loss there coincides with a tier 1, what we call a tier 1 buy zone, which indicates there's not a lot of volume there. And not only that, this level people like to buy. So once we get into this area, there's a chance that it's actually going to blast off and test that $74 mark because traders don't seem to do a lot of trading or spend a lot of time in that area. And with that in mind, actually, I'm gonna drag our stop a little bit further down to right here because I think if we do get to there, now we've got this level where traders buy a lot, and logically we broke 73.50. Everybody's eyes are on 74. So yeah, I think it's good to leave our stop there. Not, I mean, the technical analysis from a higher time frame is showing us what's probably going to happen. Why leave our stop in a place that contradicts what we expect to happen?
And one quick side remark here, natural gas is losing or falling down, which is nice for a short trade, and oil is not. And this is why I always find fundamentals are so hard to interpret because you may think, well, why could that possibly? Maybe oil's benefiting from a shortage of natural gas. I don't know. Hard to say. Maybe energy as a whole is losing it today. Could be too. So it's super hard. That's why we rely mostly on not interpreting fundamental news and how they shake the markets. Instead, we use technicals to drive our trades. First of all, it's much easier, especially if the right indicators and things are typically always priced in almost right away. And by just analyzing how markets have reacted to news and see what the pattern is, you can really, I believe, make oftentimes a better trading decision rather than trying to interpret, okay, how does a fundamental news event will shake the market.
Definitely. And another thing with oil too, is where's our oil trade? Is at least this is something I like to do, is if I take two trades and they seem to be inversely correlated, so one goes up, the other one, if one goes up, the other one goes down. And I basically have, and I think a better example is, let's say, ES and NQ tend to go in the same direction. Let's say you take a long on both of them, but one of the longs is working out better than the other, and the technical analysis doesn't seem to be panning out on the other one. Then just shorten your stop loss. If one of them's working out, then let your winners ride and cut your losers short, which is another reason why I decided, hey, why? Look, all the information from a higher time frame here tells me if this pivot breaks, this zone is going to blast price up to here. Why put my stop loss up here if everything's already telling me that once it gets here, that's going to happen anyways? So that's why I shortened the stop. Okay, so we can hope that natural gas continues to go in our favor. We'll see what happens. I gave it, Daniel, a tiny bit of a wider stop loss just to give it the ability to at least retest this zone.
Yeah.
It still hasn't tested it. We got in before it really got to that level. Okay, that's natural gas.
We do have some symbol requests, Nicholas, while we're in
FDAX,
these
eh?
trade. Yeah, we cannot trade FDAX. You would think as a German guy like me, would be set up to trade German futures. And I'm gonna change this soon, but currently our Interactive Brokers account does not allow us to trade FDAX for whatever reason. I'm gonna look into
Yeah,
that.
yeah, we don't have data. Delayed data. Okay,
Oh, this is real-time data
oops.
for FDAX on TradingView.
What's this D?
Oh yeah. What?
Delayed.
Oh, that's an Interactive.
Oh,
Yeah,
because I could just turn it
don't
off. Okay.
don't tell Interactive Brokers. We actually saved data feeds using the TradingView live data feed. While
Oh,
our
true.
Interactive Brokers account is on delay, but since we're doing the analysis on TradingView, that's fine. You see this little green dot in the left top corner? It shows that we do have
Oh,
live data for
okay.
FDAX.
Whoa, crazy chart here. I'm just checking it out, even though we can't take the trade. And let me just set liquidity IQ. Because I don't know this symbol, I'll do this a lot on symbols I don't know, is I'll set the time frame to something higher than I usually do. So even though I'm on the 5 minute, I'm setting the reference time frame to the 1 hour because I just want to get a feel for, okay, where is it long term? Because I never really look at FDAX in my regular trading. So big breakout through 21.6. Is this FDAX? Yeah. So it's
Yeah,
just so
it's
similarly priced to NASDAQ.
that's
F
another. I mean, sorry, Nicholas, real quick, a little anecdote. People have been saying, "Hey, German economy is going down forever." They're tanking, and you may think, "Hey, this will shake FDAX, which is the stock index of Germany," but it's been going up forever,
oh,
no break, and even on the daily,
look
it's
at
been
that,
on a
Daniel.
complete tear. Yeah.
5 minute chart bullish on Monday has not stopped. 5 minute reading at least. MA Rush seems to really
And
be working well on this.
Nicholas, go quickly to natural gas real quick.
Sure.
It's looking really good, and now we're actually in a zone where there's very little volume. And what you often see in that case is price just accelerating through that zone. Let's see if you can witness this here too.
Yeah, and here people, this is the local support, right? This pivot high. So it
Let's
ties in with what you're saying, right? It makes sense. If this doesn't hold as support, not a lot of people have been trading here. It's probably going to blast down quickly and be a nice little break.
yeah, yeah, let's see if that actually happens. Not much to see in FDAX. I think we're near all-time highs there, with not much reference around, at least right now.
Dow, oh, look at this. Good idea. We didn't short it. And here, guys, like we often say, um, that the indicators tell you a story, and each one of them is kind of giving you a different chapter in the story, and then it's up to you to figure out the ending based on what it tells you, because it's not predicting the future, it's just telling you what has happened and gives you a clear picture of the story. So right here, I mean, I don't know, but I would expect that we're going to get to these all-time highs today. And the reason being purely technical, which is most volume beneath us, or historically, the volume that is beneath us at the zone of control here, around 45,000 to 44,900, was sellers, sell bias. Yet we're above there. So even though there's a ton of shorters and there's a ton of people who took their profits, the demand is so high that we're up here. And a lot of the time, shorts, I think a lot of shorts, I mean, look, we were biased to take the short. It was so tantalizing, even though barely nothing was going in our favor. There's barely, it just, the chart looked, uh, you know, interesting for short. So I think there's a lot of people who shorted around 45,000 this morning or 45,000 and below. And they're going to act like rocket fuel if we break above this pivot of the morning, because they're all going to have to cover. And what happens up here? People buy. So a bunch of people are shorting. Now they're in a loss, and they're only going to lose more and more and more the longer they wait to buy to cover, which is going to act like fuel and bring us up to the resistance. At least that's what I'm expecting. That could change real quick. And it's still, we still haven't broken the morning pivot high. But yeah, that's just how I would read this story. We're above an area where there's a ton of volume, and most of the volume is people betting it's going to go down. So their bet's not going in their favor right now, at least for this moment in time. So let's check out. Look, so it's trying to see if this is going to be a higher low. So I don't like that, but that could just be intermittent. We still have selling pressure here, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. And this is why it's so important to look at these swing points, because they do act oftentimes as support or resistance. In this case, support. You can clearly see how, yeah, this symbol is taking, or this downfall is taking a little break there. And it's slowing down. And why? Because we are hitting an area of support. Will
I
the
wouldn't be
support
worried
hold?
here.
Yeah, but it's nothing to be worrisome. Little breaks in a trend are completely normal and healthy. But yeah, let's see what happens.
Let's check out. Oh, here's the symbol we never check out. ZS, soybean. Is there MZS? No. Soybean. There's no smaller mini soybean futures.
No, I don't think so. That's a more expensive contract.
Is this soybean? Geez, it looks exactly like natural gas almost. Where is natural gas? Okay. Soybean. Okay, so what would we do here? I wouldn't do anything at this point in time. I mean, if you're looking to get into a trade or if you're a real risky trader, maybe you'd, and we do not recommend this. Maybe you'd expect it to drop down to support because that looks like it's where it's going. So maybe you would say, hey, there's a lot of volume here and we're having trouble breaking it. This might act as resistance. There's selling pressure. I'll short it, expecting us to get a zone break soon. But we're not going to do that. That's not the highest reward to risk setup. MA Rush is bullish here on the 15-minute. I wouldn't take that for a long bounce until we see what happens. Also, the volume profile is so stacked above us that I would more likely expect it to break through the zone here than for there to be a bounce. I would actually keep an eye on this with an alert for a zone break retrace. So this breaks, then we come back and test it as resistance. Interesting. Okay, let's check out natural gas. Our little friendly local support low might not hold. And then let's check out what's happening on our oil trade.
Just went below that support
Oh, yeah.
level in natural gas. Yeah,
Nice.
it did not hold.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah. So let's see now if we see the acceleration towards that
Let's take our
level
profit
down
if we
there.
go
And
down
then,
there.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I was just about to say this. Let's plan our profit target around that level.
Just so we get to close the trade. Round trip before the session's over. Down here. Let's place a stop. So what do we see here? Now, something important here. So this was a tier one sell zone, right? When we were above it. Now we're below it. It's a tier one buy zone. Why is that? Well, it's because number one, the color changed because we're below it instead of above it. Tier one zones are areas where there's not a lot of volume relative to the rest of the volume profile. So because volume profiles are a display of volume over time, when there's not a lot of volume, price doesn't tend to spend a lot of time there. So if we approach a tier one zone from above, we expect it to just blast through it. But if we approach it from below, we expect it to jump through it. So if we came down to here and we take our profit, and then we started to retrace back up to here, once we get to the bottom of the zone, we actually might expect price to retrace quickly up through there. Just because historically that's what happens. We're just reading what the indicator tells us. A tier one zone, one of these troughs right here, is just a spot where price doesn't spend a lot of volume, a lot of time. It's just a matter of fact. So let's keep an eye here. What's happening now? We're dropping down. Look, so I would expect we might see a little bit of a slowdown in this drop right here. Why is that? There's a lot of volume at this level, but we'll see. The target for here would be right around this support zone, and maybe we wouldn't want to be greedy, expecting it to come all the way down there, and we'll take our win a little bit less, a little higher than that. But Dan, maybe if you want to chime in on that, I'm thinking let's place our target 3076.
Let's do it. Yeah.
And we might be exiting prematurely, but we do now have a reason for price to retrace quickly with this tier one buy zone. So we don't want to get trapped in that either. Yeah, let's do it. Send the order. Okay, we'll see if we'll hit that. And we'll see what happens here. So I think, and a lot of the time, these zones line up with just logical figures on the chart that you might expect. So why do I think there's not a lot of volume right here? And there's a tier one buy because the number here is 310. I bet you at 320, there's probably going to be another one of these zones. There it is, right? The reason for this is once price breaks 310, it's kind of like a psychological thing for traders. They say it broke around decimal, time to buy. So a lot of the time, or time to trade, it's coming down to 310, let's sell. So there's not a lot of time spent there, and price moves quickly through the 310 area because I think it's like a round number. We'll see that a lot on a lot of different symbols with volume IQ. Like let's take a look at MNQ, and I hope that makes sense. I know it was kind of a bad explanation, but you'll often see a tier one zone right above resistance or right below support. Right there, look, tier one zone right below support. Why? Because once 400 gets broken, traders are like, okay, we just broke a big round number. And not a lot of people are willing to step in as support there. Instead, there won't be a lot of order blocks from market makers, as the option professor often talks about, market makers stepping in to decide where price is going to bounce. It'll move quickly because it's a round number. So let's see another chart. I hope we hit our target here and we're not being too greedy on this. But
Oh yeah, this trade is gonna be a winner no matter what. It's just, seeing if we can squeeze out as much as possible from this trade, but we definitely not gonna let it get back all the way up to where we
let's
came
move our
from.
stop here. How about that?
Maybe a bit higher, yeah, about there.
Yeah, I'd say right here because if it's coming back and it's testing the zone
Yeah.
again, I don't think that's a nice sign. But I think we're going to hit our target. Oil. Let's see what's happening on oil. Whoops.
Or is just chilling there. It's struggling getting into the sell block, which is just below price. If we get into that sell block, I think we'll see some acceleration downwards, but just hanging out there. But hopefully we're gonna get there and then see some downside action. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tier two sell. So here, what are the factors going for us and going against us here? So on the 5-minute chart, MA Rush is bullish, not good for us. We are in a tier two sell zone with a selling block that might accelerate price downwards below us. We have an easy way to set our reward to risk, which is up here based on this past pivot. However, price is holding up at this zone. And if we get above it, bulls are going to or buyers are going to be in control. And also the nearest resistance is far away. It gives that might be a magnetic pull all the way up to there, which is why our stop is here. And the profile is bullish here. But I always check, especially the 15-minute chart. The 5-minute is a little too small for me to take everything it says seriously when doing intraday trading. So let's look on the 15-minute. On the 15-minute, things are more in our favor. The continuously optimizing volume-weighted moving average trends there are saying, hey, we're bearish biased. We are in an area where traders tend to step in and start selling. We are testing the zone of control. And at the moment, it hasn't gone in our favor, but it also hasn't gone against us. We do have our stop up at the upper end of where sellers step in. So we're going to get out before things start to become a little iffy and neutral. And then this tier one zone is probably going to accelerate price upwards to this resistance. So it actually still looks really good for us on the 15-minute chart, especially considering the longer term trend. So NASDAQ is absolutely collapsing. Here on natural gas. So, I mean, look, we're going to take our profit because it's a short-term trading session, but I would not be surprised if this is right here in 35 minutes. Down there, NASDAQ is dropping. So now this is a tier two. Good example here, guys, is below price. We have a bunch of everybody who bought up here, and it's neutral. So pretty equal. Probably a lot of people went long right here. They're all underwater. If 500 breaks, well, that's a big round number, right? Halfway between 20,000, 21,000, and 22,000. A lot of people like to sell right here. Now it's even a bigger sell block and not a lot of volume. It's probably going to blast down to this support if this tier two zone doesn't get regained quickly.
Yeah. We do have a question in the Q&A from, who is it? Just 1 second.
I want to take our profit here, Daniel, on natural gas by the time. How long is this trading session, Daniel?
It's 2 hours.
2 hours. So we still have another. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I was thinking it ends in 4 minutes. So I was saying
But we could take I mean, had we more contracts in, I would definitely scale out at least one contract at this point. But no, but I guess keep it the way it is.
Sure.
Another way what you guys can do is, of course, you can trail your stop until you eventually get stopped out to ride this trend. I just don't like the fact that we're getting off this support level. We're bouncing there a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, and we had this news, and oftentimes there's nice whiplashes after news. So even though the news might be bullish, I don't know, I haven't read the news and I don't understand news about natural gas per se. Even if the news was bullish, market makers sometimes might just whip it down quickly so they can get cheap contracts and then make it go in the direction that the news actually should have driven it initially. So I wouldn't like to be greedy coming in. That's why I was kind of suggesting, hey, we're close to support. Maybe we should just take it anyways since we're going to be getting down here. Yeah, let's take it. There we go. Okay, so we took the profit there. Nothing wrong with that. Ringing the register. And I do expect it to come down lower, but hey guys, we're just trying to get out before we're stuck with a trade where we're trailing the stop loss and the session comes to an end.
Yeah. There's a question by I think Steven, and it's about Nicholas, maybe you can have a quick look at the Q&A. I'm not really sure I
Sure, yeah, sorry, I've
fully
been
get it,
checking.
but it's about the volume IQ indicator and what I believe do we consider as most crucial, the bias blocks or our action zones, if I get that correctly.
What do we have to watch more carefully? The tier blocks or the bias blocks? Sometimes you don't want to enter because there's a discrepancy between them. So what do you have? I'd say you have to watch both of them. Oh, 1 second. In gold, block cells. Okay, we'll check that out after. I'd say you have to watch them with equal importance, and it's about understanding what they're telling you, not necessarily, hey, it's this tier signal, now I buy. If there's a discrepancy, you got to take that into your trading plan. So let's look at such a discrepancy. So, and here's a boom, NASDAQ selling through that sell block.
No, really?
No, that's definitely expected. So here on gold, whoa, on gold. Look at that. Oh
Jesus.
my God.
Are we at all-time highs in gold? I believe so.
Yeah, yeah, we are.
Boy.
There you see in GC, so this is from SF. There you see in gold a buy opportunity with a stack of block cells. I'm not sure what you're referencing there in GC. I don't see a buy opportunity anywhere here with a bunch of block cells. I don't see. Maybe you could tell exactly which time frame and etc. Please, and we could take a look.
And
But if there's a sorry, Daniel, go ahead.
I was just no, go finish your then I
So yeah, if there's a discrepancy, you just got to take that into account, and it's got to factor into your trade plan. That's the thing. So right here, for example, on oil, it's a tier 2 buy zone, and I guess there is a certain answer I can give for that, where you're saying which do you watch more carefully? The number one thing to watch most carefully on these charts with volume IQ is the tier 2 zone. That's the number one. Lock your eyes on that, or at least know about it. But do not get stuck in a pattern of thinking where you're always thinking the same thing is going to happen just because there's certain factors. It's never the case, and you should learn to read the story of what they're telling you. So here, for example, there's a tier 2 buy zone, and we are, and your question was specifically about volume pro IQ. So let me turn off the other indicators. So there's a tier 2 buy zone. This is telling us that this is where the most traders have traded contracts on this chart over the look back, is at this tier 2 zone. It's a buy zone because we are above it. And basically this is telling us most traders are in the green here on long trades. So this is probably going to act as support. However, right above us, so this is a contradicting factor right here, like you're saying, right above us, there's a sell block. And the sell block actually intersects with that tier 2 zone. And below it, there's a neutral zone. And then there's a sell block down there as well. So what this is telling me is even though right now we're above this tier 2 zone, it's not really solidified yet. Although a lot of traders have traded here, and right now it's above it, I would actually read this as just a zone that's being tested. And historically, people actually sell around it. So I would consider this, instead of being just a long trade, I would try to see, hey, well, I mean, it might be a good long trade, but I would take into account, hey, this might actually be a better short trade, because even if we do come up off of here, all of the traders who have been buying here and then will be in the green, they still have to break through a lot of selling pressure. So I know this is kind of a sloppy answer. I think it might not be the best example here, but let's look at something else. If let's say we did go long here, what's some nearby contradicting information? Well, there's a neutral zone and a sell zone here. Well, just because it's contradicting doesn't mean it's bad trade. I could actually use this for my trading plan. So if I go long right here, this is telling me where I should put my stop. I'll put my stop loss right here at 73.15. Why? Because if I go long here, there's not necessarily a buy or sell bias beneath price. So if we do range a little bit, like let's say I go long right now and then we come down to here, it still might go in my favor. But then once we break below that neutral area, traders like to sell until it drops down to $73. So I might want to get out before that happens. If I'm long biased, another thing with blocks. So let me just find a good example, something we could talk about here. And I'm just curious, what's MNG doing? Rebounding. So we wouldn't have hit our target. So it's good we got out, at least for the short term. So let's see on NASDAQ. I bet you NASDAQ is probably going to be a decent example. And it's hard. That's why we did our big boot camp on volume IQ, and also why we have that boot camp planned for considering liquidity IQ, volume IQ, and MA Rush all in one. Because there's always going to be contradicting information, probably 90% of the time. So let's see here. Well, here nothing's contradicting really, except for the fact this says it's a bullish bias. We had a tier 2 sell zone. Below it was a sell bias block. And we had said, we were just talking about this 5 minutes ago, saying, hey, if it drops below 500, chances are it's going to quickly drop down. Let's try to find something that has some contradiction. I wonder what MYM is doing now. And remember, we were talking about this too, MYM saying if it breaks above that pivot high, that's not very good for shorts. So here, this is contradicting information. Right here, the overall profile says the trend bias is bullish. We are at a tier 2 zone, which is reading as a buy right now. However, all around price here is a sell block. So this is contradicting information, but it does give us information. But it does give us stuff that we can use to come up with a trading plan or interpret what this is telling us. So we already went over this one, but what this is telling me is this is the zone of control. Most traders have been entering their trades around 44,950. And most of those trades have either been longs taking profit or people going short because there's more sell volume. So what would I expect here? Well, I would expect if we start to break below here, then it's really rapidly going to drop, at least until we start to find buyers, because everybody sells here. People are shorting, and if the people who are long and they haven't taken their profits yet, if we start to lose this area, they're probably going to start to sell, and we're going to get some acceleration. So people historically sell here. But it also tells me another potential trade setup, which is to buy and go long, because I know that this is still a tier 2 buy zone. We're still above the zone of control, and everybody's betting that we're going to break below it. And what happens if we don't break below it? We're probably going to blast off as the shorts cover, and we go to test these all-time highs. And above price, we have this buy zone that would even drive us higher there. I would be more inclined long here. I already spoke about why I would be inclined long here, because of the fact that I think a lot of people are shorting here and they're underestimating the fact that if it breaks above here, we're at all-time highs. But there's also more things in going long, a long trade's favor here overall. Number one, it's bullish biased. Number two, well, it's in a magnet zone, so that's not exactly the case. But number two, it's almost near all-time highs. MA Rush is bearish, okay, so that's kind of short biased. But from volume IQ, we're surrounded by buyers. Even though a lot of people are shorting here, they're mostly shorting because they're expecting, or selling because they're expecting 45,000 to hold up as resistance. But if we break above it, people like to buy. And if we come below it, people also like to buy at this support. So you're kind of like stuck between a hard and a rock place as a short trader right here on this symbol. So I know that was a lot of rambling there. I'm sorry about that. But all these things, they're always going to be contradicting. So don't try to look at it dogmatically, where it's always the same scenario. You got to learn to read it. And that's only going to come with looking and watching charts. Over time, you're going to notice patterns.
Yeah, Nicholas, let's check out 6J, the yen futures.
Whoops, a daisy. Okay, 6J.
This is an expansive contract, but it's an interesting pattern. If you go to the 5 minute, you will see that's in a nice zone break retrace bullish pattern. And just getting into that broken resistance level right now, or soonish at least. So that could be something of interest too. What's your read here on volume IQ? I guess it's a bit contradictory as we are in a sells block right now, but of course that's I guess caused by the fact that we just retraced off those highs.
Yeah, what I'd see here, so good example of what we were talking about before, which is you'll often see tier one zones near resistance and support because once resistance or support are broken, price moves quickly through them. So there's not a lot of time. Like, look here, look, there's no volume around resistance. Why? Because price blasted through it. Not a lot of time was spent there. So a lot of people are taking profits up here. There's a lot of selling. I would wait for the retrace down to the level that was broken because that's where buyers step in or are historically. If I was to enter in here on this retrace, I would actually wait. I wouldn't buy here. So sometimes we say, we did this on natural gas. Right when it retraced to the zone, we entered before it even really got all the way through it. On this one, I would not do that. If we came down to here, I would not buy. Why? Because this is a tier one sell zone. It's contradicting. Even though traders have a buy volume bias here, when we get there, chances are it's going to rapidly drop down further to test the level. So this is actually a great example of clear contradiction. It's a bullish long break retrace if it comes there, but there's a tier one sell zone and there's a buying block. So everything's opposite. But if you read it, as I just said, it does make sense. If we came down to here, it's probably going to sell off for a deeper test. And I would wait for it to come lower to where the buyers are and where buyers actually start to step in with significant volume to buy there. However, look at this. And these are all things I'd be considering if I'm going to take this trade. If it drops, I would not buy it here or here or here. I would wait till at least this area to buy it because then I'm getting it cheap. I know that there's more buyers down there, right here. And I would set my stop loss actually about right here because it's sell biased here. These are technically usually pivot highs. I want to let them get tested because there's high volume and they might shift to bullish if buyers step in down there. So, the volume profile is always changing. Look, it's not that much of a bearish bias on these levels. If buyers step in here, then they step in here, step in here. These might shift to blue or buy bias, and then it blasts off. But it's good to keep into account, hey, it's probably going to sell down to here. And then if the buyers here don't step in, well, then we're in trouble because it's going to drop down to these sellers. Then this is neutral, and then there's more sellers. It's probably going to sell off real quick. So this would be a risky one. I'd buy a contract there and place a stop right here. Because then if it comes all the way down to there, I've been confirmed that, hey, these buyers aren't being able to prop this up. Another thing I wouldn't do on this one is I would not take this trade in the first place without checking. And it's bullish MA rush, nice, but without checking what's happening on the 15-minute as well. So I'm basically never going to take a 5-minute trade without checking the 15-minute too. I just want to be aware of it. So I would come onto the 15-minute, put liquidity IQ on the 1 hour, and what do we see? So the level that we broke here was this resistance on the 5-minute chart. We broke above there and we were saying it would come and retest. There was also a tier one sell zone there that I said would probably accelerate it lower to where there's actually kind of a couple of sellers. Look what we see on the 15-minute. That tier one zone is there as well. And on the 15-minute, it's actually sell biased. So if we come down to here, I wouldn't be surprised if we fell down to here really quickly. And this area, if I put, actually, I don't even have to put a marker and switch timeframes because liquidity IQ, look what I could do. I could just put liquidity IQ on the chart and set it to the 5-minute chart and give it a different color theme so we could see them both simultaneously. So if I set this to the 5-minute, 15-minute, sorry, that would be the reference time frame. And then I set this to whatever this one looks like, Dawn Sky. So I click on that. And once these levels load, I don't really ever do this where I put it on a lower time frame. So hopefully it works. Yeah. So now we see the levels from the lower time frame. This was that level we were looking at for a retrace. Even on the 15-minute, it's a tier 2 sell. But we got a nicer reading on the buy and sell volume from the volume profile on the 15-minute chart, right? Because we have more data, further look back. We actually see the same stuff. So there will be sellers here. And I was saying I would take a contract down at the lower end of this range. And then I would put my stop when the buyers get exhausted, which would be down here, which I think is exactly this. If you remember where we were hovering, it's the exact same spot we saw on the 5-minute. But on the 15-minute, we get even more confirmation that this is a wise idea, because if we go long here, I'm not going to be afraid if it drops down to here because we have buyers. But if we get down to here, now people like to sell, and now we've got a drop off, and then there's a tier one sell. We're probably going to come all the way back down to this level. So it's really important to look at these jutting areas on volume profiles. So if we buy here, it's probably going to come down and test these levels. I wouldn't want to hold into where these sellers step in. I'd sell. And look, a big round number, 650. People probably sell because they're expecting it to lose that level at that point.
Yeah. Nicholas, let's get to some user questions, some other ones. One question that came in from, I believe it was James, and he asked a really good question. Can this be used on stocks and for swing trading instead of day trading? And the answer is absolutely, James. Actually, if you join us on our Saturday live scanning sessions, all we do there in those sessions is to scan for interesting swing trading setups using Liquidity IQ. In fact, our dashboard, which comes with a scanner. So yes, absolutely, these work great for swing trading. And maybe
check this out.
Yeah, check it
yeah,
out.
I was gonna say, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Put on Apple on the daily time frame. I mean, we called a long trade in Apple of a beautiful zone break retrace. No, sorry, a bounce trade in Apple. When was that? I don't think we posted it.
Before we got to your example, I was going to post out a really nice, actually, day trade that we saw on Apple that came in from a free alert, and it worked out really nicely, really quickly. I was surprised. Do you mind if I point this one out, Daniel?
Yes, do it, and then we go to the swing trade afterwards.
Sure. So I forwarded this to chat. When did it actually come in? Came in on 1:30 p.m. on the 28th, which was Monday, I think. No, Tuesday. And it said, hey, there's a short bounce opportunity off the 239 resistance. And if you're trading the 15-minute chart on Apple, now I would never trade the 15-minute chart on Apple. It's too small of a time frame for me. But this was on Tuesday, and it said, hey, there's resistance up at 239. There might be a short bounce set up. And that was on at 1:30 on the 28th, which was right here, saying, hey, we're up at where is that resistance? Let me just check out. Maybe it's because I'm not on RTH. There it is. So around 1:30 here, it said, hey, there might be a short bounce. And then look what happened the next morning. Boom, it bounced right off and opened up like $7 lower, which was nice. But we do usually use these on daily charts. So maybe, Daniel, if you want to go over that example
maybe
we were looking at.
Open up the daily and put Liquidity IQ on the daily reference time frame. We had a beautiful bounce trade. Oh, that one. Look at this. That's exactly what we pointed out in our scanning
sessions. It hasn't calculated yet, Daniel. And just
so I think the level is going to be the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at price. So first of all, what happened here is Apple made an all-time high at Christmas. I remember this so well because we've been pointing this out so many times now. Saturday session. So on the 26th, all-time high right after Christmas. And then we retraced all the way to that support level. And we called it out. Hey, this is a great opportunity to go long on Apple, getting Apple at a discount because a bounce is likely. It's in the cards. And look what happened. I mean, this is a textbook bounce setup on the daily time frame. Yeah, so James, this answers your question. For sure, it works great on stocks and swing trading. We use it all the time in our Saturday sessions. And
yeah, definitely.
Nicholas, go quickly back to oil. Something's happening there.
Sure.
So now things look a bit better in our oil trade because we are now getting into that sell zone as per volume IQ. And let's see if we can see some acceleration now to the downside since we entered that sell block.
Yeah. Okay. So now this is holding up as resistance. We're in a sell block. Not in prison, but a sell block here on the chart. And hopefully, yeah, we get some continuation. So I'm checking the 15-minute. So yeah, it's still fighting here for the resistance. This now, by the way, these zones increase in range as price gets more volatile, just like liquidity IQ zones between 73.25 and 73.42. So still a wide range, but so far it has held up. And yeah, there's no buyers stepping in violently or aggressively until down below $73. And maybe, that'll go against us sooner or later, perhaps, if we come up and break that resistance. But really, that's the thing, right, about these tier 2 zones. We knew about that zone all the way back here. We knew that that was probably going to be a spot to short and that it would take some fighting to see if it's going to be a good place to sell or buy. And frankly, the future's still not decided yet. This level can still get tested. We aren't very
Yeah.
far away from it.
And Nicholas, I think if you go to the 5 minute, we're actually approaching a support level right near price. Maybe not the worst idea to think about covering that short position at
Oh, oops, I have to change the reference. That's why.
yeah, change it there. We're getting, as you will see, I see it very clearly on my chart here at the 73 price point. We are getting into support. Let's see.
1 second. It
Okay.
hasn't calculated yet.
So
Ah,
there
right
it's
here. So yeah, let's
yeah,
take our profit there. Why not? We're getting
yeah.
close. I'd expect here this tier one sell to drive us down to there. Let's say here. How about 73.08 or 73.09? Oh, well, that's too close. How about that, Daniel?
Let's do it. Yeah. All right. And by the way, John had a nice remark on our NG trade, our natural gas trade. Said, "Hey, congrats on that winner." Especially considering that this symbol is sometimes called the widow maker because of its unpredictability.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we look what's going on there in natural gas?
Yeah, I'm on the chart right now. 1 hour, and let me just fix up liquidity IQ to be on the 4 hour. I'm just curious to see how much it can move in short spans of time. We're back adjusted. Yeah, look at this thing. 350, boom. And I think, didn't it go, or was that oil? Didn't it go negative at one point in time, like during COVID?
That was oil, yeah.
That was oil. Okay. Yeah, look at this thing. Very nice. Very volatile symbol. Definitely going to make this one I trade more frequently. So look,
It's the widow
oil.
maker.
Yeah. Well, okay, here, yeah. So here we're still fighting for it. Maybe this little pivot here, these pivots are going to act as a support. Um, but I don't think it's a good idea to take our profits too prematurely, Daniel. What do you think?
Nah, let's keep it. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
wait.
there we go.
All right.
All right, do we have any questions? I'm going to take a look here at our free alerts, see if anything interesting happened.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, Chris said look, Crude is looking better, yes. And James, I'm happy. We got your question covered. Aubrey, hey Aubrey, how's it going? How's Cyprus? Um, so where do you think Apple will go from here? I'm thinking the all-time highs are in the picture for a swing trade. We can discuss this on our Saturday session, but yeah, I think and interestingly, while Nvidia and Meta initially they were all plummeting on Monday after the DeepSeek announcement over the weekend, Apple actually was positive right off the gate. It gapped up a bit. So I mean, I think Apple is obviously a good stock to consider, and I think all-time highs are in the picture. That's my outlook.
Yes. And when did that happen? Let me just take a look here. I remember because it dropped. Oh, yes. So I had bought a decent amount of Apple around 235, 236 or something like this because of the time it was a tier two buy zone. And then the next morning or whatever it was, when it dropped all the way down to 220, I was like, I cannot panic now because this is a support zone right here. And then it ended up, and I saw liquidity captures like, okay, it's probably a bad idea to sell unless we really come down and break this other level. But yeah, it's bounced off very well so far, and we still have that tier two buy zone beneath us. So if it comes down there, I might actually buy more and see what happens. So let's
Yeah.
check out our oil setup.
Oil is
MNQ, not looking
retracing
good.
a bit, but I mean, we are in a
Oops.
bounce setup. I mean, there, which is a bullish setup as a zone break retrace setup, I should say, which is bullish, which is kind of contradicting our short trade. But
On which
let's,
time frame?
well, on the 5 minute still. So where we are approaching that support level, but let's keep it open. Let's
On the
see.
15-minute, we still got everything in our favor, which is good
Yeah,
to keep in mind.
yeah.
So here, yeah, I see what you're saying. So yeah, it was a failed short break retrace. Yeah, so that's going against us. We do have this sell block. I don't know, it's up to you. We
No,
want to close it before the
let's
session.
stay in there. Yeah.
Okay, so let's check out the 15-minute again. I just want to make sure. So with the 1 hour reference time frame, yeah, but that's a good thing to keep in mind. But I still think we still have most things in our favor, and with a tight stop only risking about $9. I think it's a good reward to risk. If we break above here, it's the tier 2 zone. We got it clear. This is why it's always nice, guys. We're going to be eventually, I believe, making scans for this. We already got one on NinjaTrader, but scans that let you know when when a symbol is at the tier 2 zone, because that's always going to give some of the best reward to risk trade opportunities. Let's check out some other symbols here. Natural gas, retrace quite a bit. Glad we got out of that when we did.
And that was actually once again quite predictable. Remember, guys, this was approaching on Liquidity IQ a support level, and we took our profits there. I wish it could go up one more time to that or to that support zone above, now acting as resistance. We still have the tier 2 sell there. This could be another reshort
Yeah, great point.
opportunity.
It's already coming. Yeah, we missed that kind of when we got out of it. We turned our eyes away. But that would have been the same setup. We had this on Bitcoin at the last live trading session, which is just like a rinse and repeat. So price loses a tier 2 zone. You trade in the direction of it, like a short here. It falls and it comes up and retests. You just short again. And if everything's still in your favor, nothing to worry about. MCL is looking a little bullish here. I think we should still let it play out. But it's up to you. If we want to close it out, wrap it up even before the session. See if we have any questions. Did I hear you also have a swing trade session from William? We don't have a swing trading session, but at our lunch and learns every Tuesday, we look at swing trade setups. And on our power scanning sessions on Saturday, Daniel spends a couple hours using our dashboard to find swing trading setups and trades of the week and goes through entire watch lists for all our different trade setups. So we're not live taking the entries. Obviously, swing trades last quite a while. But we do these long scanning sessions, or Daniel does, and market review sessions for them.
Yeah, and send me I'm gonna show the slides of our contact information in a second. Send me a note if you don't receive the invites for those. They should get to your inbox. Yeah, when we schedule them. Maybe you missed them, or perhaps you're not on that list. If you didn't receive them, send me a quick note and I'll make sure to include you in those invites. Next one's coming up this Saturday, by the way.
Look, did
Yeah.
this happen to us, Daniel? Did we? I think it did happen to us. We said, oh, there's going to be a zone break retrace on copper. It didn't hit our alert. Came down to here.
Oh boy.
Not even a penny away, and now it took off.
That was, yeah.
Oh, it's a good demonstration that the concepts work, though. Gold, this is going to be a heck of a retrace if it does happen. Let's check this on the 1 hour. So another good tip here is when something's taking off insanely like this, and you see a level like we just saw with Liquidity IQ on the 5-minute, all the way down here. A lot of the time, why it'll look like this is you're just not seeing a higher time frame level, which got broken somewhere else, which kind of makes more sense. So I think we just saw that when I set Liquidity IQ to the 1 hour, or even if I set it to the 2 hour, we're going to see, okay, it's actually not that far from a broken level. So this was a 2 hour resistance, and I think that's the same level on the 1 hour. Yeah, so right here, if we come back down to here, this is going to accelerate us down, maybe for retrace. This is a good retrace setup. I kind of doubt we're going to come all the way down there, but gold is so volatile recently that it's not surprising. It'd be a great retrace setup, though.
Yeah, we do, just for the sake of, we won't take this trade right now, but in 6G, the yen futures, we are actually right now in our buy zone that we thought actually we powered through it. Good thing we didn't take it. This was meant to be a zone break retrace setup. We're still somewhat in there in that
This was our idea,
resistance.
though. Our idea is not broken down. Remember, our idea was this was going to act as a zone to accelerate downwards. So we would wait to the lower end to buy, and then we would place our stop here because this is where the buyers are going to get exhausted. Remember?
Yeah,
So
that's true.
could still work out. I don't know. I wouldn't take this, but I just wanted to show, hey, we're still our theory's still working out here.
Perfect. All right, let's see if there's some last minute questions and that we can go through. Yeah, Chris is saying oil's in a stair-stepping phenomenon, like a ball bouncing down a set of stairs. And he's also in that short that we are in. Um, to me, this crude trade was not the ideal one. I mentioned it before that we didn't have a resistance level per se as per Liquidity IQ. So that piece was missing, which is always, that's why we say, hey, these two indicators, they work so nicely together because if things line up, good things tend to happen. But we'll see with oil. It's going back down a bit now.
Well, fast. It was actually that's a good point. So this one was purely, for a good reason, or for basically, it was purely a volume IQ and MA rush trade off the 15-minute, because that's where we saw the tier two sell, and we saw the trend was downwards. And another thing we saw, I don't know if this actually ended up happening. Didn't we see a secondary? No, that was this level that we're placing our target based on. But yeah, you're right. It wasn't ideal because not everything was coming together.
Yeah. Nicholas, let me quickly share my screen for 1 second because I want to show you guys how to reach out to us in case of questions. I think I
Sure.
do have a slide somewhere.
And look what we thought was going to happen here. We thought it would drop all the way to the zone, and then buyers would step in down here on 6J. And so far, that's what's happening. It might not last long, but yeah,
So
the indicators are good. Okay, I stopped sharing.
yeah, give me 1 second. I just need to find my I have it.
See your Microsoft Live where it says enter
Yeah,
password.
exactly. Um actually we're just gonna put this into the where's my getting in touch with us slide? I can't find it. Let me just open up a new slide set. 1 second, guys. As well. Okay, I'm just gonna go to the slide from so now 1 second. There we go. Okay. So here, just real quick. If you have any questions, please feel free to always reach out to us. Just trying to find that proper slide. There we go. Via our homepage, tradingindicators.com. In the main menu, there's a contact item. Click on it. Put your question into the contact form, and it's going to go straight to my inbox or Niklas's inbox, or just send me an email at info@tradingindicators.com. That's just as good. And one quick reminder, if you are not on our Discord channel yet, you can join. I'm just quickly find the invite for that one for free. There we go. No, not this one. Where is it? Here. Tradingindicators.com/Discord. And Niklas may put this link quickly into the chat box as well. Join our Discord channel. Once in there, you're going to see a lot of trading talk, a lot of charting, and perhaps the coolest feature of all, our automated trade alerts, which will alert you when, right now it's based on Liquidity IQ, when interesting setups based on that indicator pop up on day trading, but also swing trading timeframes. So that's super useful because you will be alerted instead of just browsing through your charts all the time.
And we're going to be adding in the near future the alerts such that they also incorporate MA Rush too. So they're going to get only better at like piecing together the story for symbols to give you good setups.
Perfect. All right, guys. So that pretty much rounds up this session. We're going to close out this oil trade now. As we
Okay, I'll share my
there.
screen just so we see the figures as we do it. So we're here, we're at 73.22. Our target was just down here. We're going to exit it out since we're wrapping up the session. So we have a clean slate. Boom. Oh, okay.
That's good to do.
And yeah, and what did we get? 125 Canadian.
Yeah,
In
it's
there.
Canadian.
So
yeah, our Interactive Brokers account, of course, being registered here in Montreal in Canadian dollars. All right, guys. With that, I hope you enjoyed this session. I definitely did. It was fun. And just one last thing, Aubrey. Thoughts on DLTR, daily momentum. Just real quick, Nicholas, can you open up this one?
Yeah, let me share my screen again. Here, okay.
Last thing, and then
DLTR at around tier 2 on the daily chart. Momentum is crossing over. Oh, Dollar Tree is crossing over and signaling a directional move higher just as volatility is up after 4 months of compression. Do you think there's a big move to the upside coming? So let's check that out. And here, Liquidity IQ, got to set this to the daily time frame. MA Rush. and I always do this, I suggest you guys do it too, is I think I'm going to change the defaults, turn down the opacity on MA Rush. It's too dense and it clutters the chart. So we reduced it and it's an option. Okay, so DLTR. So this is a very long, well, what? No, it's not really a long-term downwards stock. So what's happened since 2020? So COVID, it dipped all the way down to $60 and then bounced all the way up to, it tripled in 3 years, like pretty much every single stock. MA Rush went bearish. MA Rush is still very distinctly bearish, but MA Rush has to reverse at one time. So just because MA Rush is bearish doesn't mean a reversal is not coming, that's for sure. We are down near super, super long-term support here. That would be the one thing I'd be considering as good for a long, and the tier 2 zone. There has been a ton of trading volume here. Hundreds and hundreds of millions, 500 million shares have been bought down here. That's a good find. So maybe this is a sign that the big players, institutions, are loading up at the same low that happened during COVID, expecting that we're going to take another ride upwards. And this is the end of this downtrend after months of compression, like you said. And one thing to do here that I would do.
Well, Nicholas, wait 1 second on that daily chart. We also had this gaps a couple of months back when, gaps tend to be filled. We didn't have the gap fill there yet. So that could be another encouraging sign that, hey, maybe this is going to reverse back to an uptrend.
Yeah, that's an excellent find. I think I might actually take this trade myself. And the reason why is tier 2 buy zone. And, look at this. I mean, you got to use some of your own judgment here. Tier 2 buy on this bar. But this bar is at the center of what this is a high volume node, which actually takes into account nearby levels. So this whole thing is the tier 2 zone, basically. And I know that might be hard to see, but you can kind of see this high volume bar on the histogram is pretty much the exact same volume as this one. They're both pretty significant, but it might be too late to get in down here. Selling bias. People are panicking when it came down here. People were absolutely panicking, right? They've been holding for 4 years and they're almost in the red. They're selling and they missed out on the triple gains. They should have taken their profits. So everybody's selling. But despite people selling, it's making higher lows and it's going higher. I don't want to sound too excited about this, but I think it is a good reward to risk. Set up maybe if you pull down a little bit with a limit order, which may or may not happen. Because, I mean, in the big picture, if you're going to hold this, and you get even a gap fill to here, that's plus $20 a share. And even if you retrace to this level, zone break retrace, that's plus $30 a share. Down here, your absolute end of worst case scenario loss, unless it gaps down on the next earnings, which is coming up, that's only $13 a share. So you already have 3-to-1 reward to risk.
Yeah.
Earnings are coming up though, so don't be surprised if it gaps down $40 or something.
And I think another thing, maybe a way to play this one is through options, because that way, you're limited to the premium of the option. If you buy them out of the money, calls with a decent expiration a couple of months out, if they're affordable. I'm not sure how liquid the options chain for this symbol is, but yeah, this could be an interesting one to bet on the fact that, hey, we're going to see the gap fill. This is the bottom we've seen, and price going to retrace.
And I want to point something out here, Daniel, this is good. You could do this on volume IQ for swing trading. I hopped over to the weekly because the volume profile will update to show us volume IQ to show us what's happening on the weekly. On the weekly, the tier 2 zone is actually above us right now. It's a tier 2 sell right at this resistance. So if this resistance gets broken, that's a very big deal.
Nicholas, your microphone just
Can you hear me?
turned off. Nope.
Oh, it's showing that audio is coming through.
Oh, now you say something one more time?
Hello, can you hear me?
Now you're back. Yeah.
Okay, so I was gonna say, Aubrey, that and everybody, that on the weekly chart here, you can use volume IQ to get a bigger perspective for swing trade. Look at this. On the weekly chart, almost 1 billion shares, which is insane, have been traded up above us near the $80 mark, $78, which coincides directly with this resistance, which also coincides with the sell block. So if this resistance gets broken and then this tier 2 zone gets overtaken, I think that's super bullish and probably a sign that the gap might get filled, or this might retrace. Look, this wasn't even a proper zone break retrace on the weekly, although we're very far away. But I think this is the big line in the sand as well, is the weekly tier 2 zone.
Yeah, and Aubrey said that he's considering the 85 calls with March 21st expiration, currently at 275, so very affordable, I believe, because they're quite quite ways out of the money. Yeah, so I think that's a good speculative idea, Aubrey. Um,
Yeah, interesting. Very interesting chart. Thanks for that. And I mean, look at how oversold it is too. Long, and look at this. Not only is that the support from 2020 COVID, it was also an important liquidity level and support going back a decade. So it being broken is very significant, and us being near it, and if we get above this tier two, it's a really good reward to risk, I would think. Don't know anything about the company though.
yeah. All right. Guys, that's it from our end. Thank you so much for joining. It's been fun and well, happy trading for the rest of the day. Watch our Discord channel. I'm sure there's going to be some action happening later on today. Knowing Nicholas, we're going to post something of interest or some of our other users as well. And that's it, guys. Talk to you on Saturday for our live scanning session. Bye, guys.